all this money now being available, what's your advice about which company to look at and what events and where to put the money?
So back to our, biannual how to make money in biotech. This changes. We don't stick with a theme every year. It's not the same. And this year, what we're focused on are really two aspects of biotech. One is personalized medicine, and we should come back and talk about that theme at another time, because that's a worthwhile theme to focus on.
Yeah, to have something specific about personalized medicine.
Right, anything personalized medicine, be it Myriad Genetics or Genomic Health or Sequenom or Celera, etc. Personalized medicine is here to stay, and it's absolutely strategic for our country to get that right. And a lot of investors are going to want to pursue that. But outside of personalized medicine, classic biotech, where do you play? Do you play the large caps? Well, certainly there's going to be more demand for large cap stock at the beginning of a recovery than at the end. But we actually believe that you can make the most amount of money in companies that are a little bit earlier stage and therefore not large cap plays. And the reason is because those are the companies where some piece of news can cause the stock to double. It's going to take a lot to cause CELG to double, which I cover, and I'm a bull on, and I think the stock is going to move higher. It is, as well, could potentially become an acquisition candidate. We've got some of the longest extant coverage on CELG on the street. But the simple fact is, over the course of the last few years, that stock has doubled a couple of times. To get it to do so again is going to take a lot of good news. We think some of the smaller cap stories out there are the ones where you can get 100% return over a reasonable period of time.
Okay. So do you have now some example of companies that you like to tell us about?
Yeah, I do. And as you know, there's a lot of small cap biotech stocks that are traded. So we're very selective. And the theme that I want to hit you with here, or leave you with, is that it's the type of news flow that you as an investor have to be comfortable with. If you as an investor are only comfortable with news that says this product is in the market and growing revenue, then the kind of stories that I'm going to talk about today are not those kind of stories. I actually think those kind of stories have been picked over by investors, and it's harder to make money in those stories. Why? Because more of the investor base is able to conduct fundamental analysis and come up with a perspective on what's going to drive the stock higher. But we think the companies that have clinical data that will be the first significant, rigorous test of their hypothesis or validation of their clinical rationale for their programs, those are the stocks, if those products are owned outright, if they're not already partnered with a large pharma company, those are the stocks that you could see a double in. Once a company has that first clinical data, and they have been investing in that product to date, that's the time when suddenly the strategic buyers, like the large pharma companies, become interested in that product. And that's when they start to do they start to have discussions about doing a corporate collaboration for the development and commercialization of that product. And often is the case, that discussion leads to a discussion about what it would take to acquire the company. And those are the kind of companies that we want investors to focus on. The other aspect of that, of our thesis, is that we think that right now with the really challenging environment at the FDA, you want to avoid FDA risk at all costs. So I think you don't necessarily want to focus on stocks that are late stage, that are about to get their product approved by the FDA. Maybe they filed with the FDA. So many times I go and talk to institutional investors and they say, oh, we don't invest in early stage stories. We only invest in later stage ones that are generating revenue or about to get their product approved. Well, to me, that doesn't make sense because that's where everyone else is focused.
Yeah, it's a bit too late.
And that's too late. That's, you're not going to see what I'll call this tier jumper activity of the stock once the news hits. In addition, it's very, very hard to predict what logic the FDA will use in the current environment, in the current very risk-adverse environment of the FDA. So you could be wrong. You could be surprised on the downside.